one station making history every day.
My sweet home, Chicago.
Now, Don, Wade, and Roma.
89.
Bruce Wolf and Dan Proft at CPAC in Rosemont. And we're joined by Senator Rand Paul of Kentucky. I understand you're happy to see us here today.
Actually, I'm not. I only agreed to this interview if I got to meet Don and Roma. And if they're not here, I'm out of here.
Yeah. Thank you very much, Senator. Pushing down at 9 o'clock. Okay, and we're welcoming the youngest congressman in the United States House of Representatives, Aaron Schock.
Ever.
Yes.
Good morning, guys. Good to be with you.
Good morning. Good morning. You're always welcome. And boy, this is an exciting day because I understand before you even came in here, you had a joint appearance with the governor, Pat Quinocchio.
Guys, I thought I was coming home to get away from the craziness. I just spent 15 minutes on Morning Joe with Governor Quinn, and I've never heard so much gibberish and nonsense. He was talking about the president's bailout of the automobile industry as crediting that's why Ford has gone from one line of production to 3 lines of production here in Illinois. I had to remind him.
Wait a second.
Excuse me?
Ford wasn't bailed out.
Hello. I think the Ford executives might have. I mean, he said it with a straight face.
No.
I couldn't make it up if I tried. Then he says to me, gee, if you Republicans would get around to passing a highway bill, the president could actually sign it. And I said, excuse me? We actually passed a highway bill in the Republican House. It's the Democratic
That's where it is.
Exactly. But I mean, it was just like one miss. I mean, I thought, who put his talking points together? Either that, or focus on the problems at the state and don't talk about the federal. But it's no wonder why we're in year 5 of his administration now that we still don't have a fix to our pensions, and they continue to talk about it and pass
the buck.
Yeah, and he was telling me, we're going to get it done. And I said, Governor, with all due respect, I was in the legislature 7 years ago, and they were talking about reforms as they raided $1 billion out of the teacher pension system and used it for day-to-day operating expenses. I mean, these are the same characters that have been charged with state government for the last decade: governor, House, Senate. And they are the culprits, and it's like asking the fox to fix the hole in the chicken coop. I mean, it's not going to happen. That's how they're getting fed.
Why don't they see what's going on in Wisconsin, what's going on in Indiana?
Roma, they just decry what went on in Wisconsin. They said, oh, my gosh, we're going to do things here in Illinois different. Well, yeah, they're doing things different. I mean, look at Wisconsin. I had this conversation with some trade unions in my district this weekend. I said, listen, all the doom and gloom that the leadership of these unions played out in Wisconsin, and it didn't come true. The sun came up the next morning, and guess what? The unemployment rate in Wisconsin for trade unions is lower. There's more of them working. Why? Because businesses are investing. People are hiring. People are building. People are expanding. And guess what happens? People get put to work when that happens. So the very people that were scared into, oh my gosh, Governor Walker is going to, create an end to the state that we know, actually Wisconsin is better off. And it's why I think, you guys, that Governor Walker won with a convincingly larger margin than when he ran the first time.
Because the evidence was in that the reforms worked.
Absolutely.
That they were working, and even union members voted for him.
So the 18th District of Illinois is in for a Walker type of resurgence.
The pride of Peoria.
I'll tell you what, our area is doing well because we actually have companies that aren't just competing in Illinois. I mean, we Caterpillar is the global manufacturer in Peoria. They sell 70% of what they build to other markets around the world.
Aren't they looking for workers to replace some strikers?
Yeah, in Joliet. Joliet. I'll tell you what's really scary is that we passed those 3 trade agreements at the federal level: Colombia, Panama, and South Korea, and it's increased demand for Caterpillar tractors. The Caterpillar CEO announced they were going to have to build a new plant to meet the demand in Latin America. 1,400 high-paying union jobs here in the United States, manufacturing jobs. And then he basically sat me down and said, look, there is no way we can build that plant in Illinois.
Thanks to Governor Quinn.
There's 7 other,
plans.
I mean, higher workman's comp, higher tort law, tort system. I mean, on and on and on. He just said, you can build the building, buy the land, give it to me for free, and I can't operate it for what I can in about 7 other states. And that's what frustrates me as a federal office holder, is that, Peter Roscom, myself, Joe Walsh, all of our delegation, we can do what we need to do at the federal level to make our tax system more fair and competitive, get trade agreements around the world. But if we got the same boneheads down in Springfield that refuse to fix the problem, our constituents here in Illinois are never going to see the fruits of our labor, because the investments and the growth will happen in states like Wisconsin, like Indiana, and it's really sad.
You, Aaron Schock, are on the House Ways and Means Committee, which is the taxing body, and so I'm curious about your view on the idea of. We talked to Herman Cain about the tax reform. We talked to Senator Rand Paul. These are people who say throw out the tax system that exists now because it's not working for people. And let's start with a simplified plan. Do you ever discuss that within the House Ways and Means Committee?
Absolutely. In fact, we've had 23 hearings in the last year on corporate tax reform, and now this year we're focusing on individual tax reform. You've got to do corporate reform and individual at the same time, because most small businesses file as pass-through entities and pay at the individual rate, so you can't do corporate without doing individual. The corporate tax reform is basically get rid of all the deductions, get rid of the accelerated depreciation, the R&D tax credit, all the things the companies like, get rid of them and drop the rate from 35% down to 25%. All of the everyone from the NFIB, the small business guys, to the big corporations say we're willing to do 25% if you can we'll get rid of our deductions and our carve-outs if we go down to 25%. Individuals, we would collapse our current rates of 6 different rates down to 2. We'd take our 40,000 pages, which is the current tax code, 40,000 pages, and collapse it down to a booklet. You'd have 2 tax rates. The top rate would be 25%. And the bottom rate would be 10%. So above about 200% of poverty, you'd pay 10% of your tax. So let's say it's a two household person above 30 grand, you'd pay 10% up to about 150,000, and then over 150,000, you'd pay 25%.
That sounds like a pipe dream.
Hey, you know what? It's amazing is even the Democrats on the Ways and Means Committee like our proposals. In fact, they believe we can. Their position is based on the deductions and provisions we want to get rid of. They think we can get down to a top rate of 28%. So the fact that we're at 25 and Sandy Levin, the chairman or the ranking Democrat on the committee, said 28, I'd say we're pretty close. The red herring is the president. The president has come out and said he wants to increase the taxes on everybody. He wants to take individual capital gains at 15% and bring it back up to 30%. He wants the Buffett rule, which would tax all income over $1 million at 30%, which would just take our country in the completely wrong direction. We'd have more companies like Aon. Aon is leaving Illinois for the UK.
We're talking to Aaron Schock, a congressman who is now being bombarded with text messages saying, will you run for governor? Apparently people are liking you.
We want you to run for governor.
Well, at this point, I'm running for re-election for Congress, and that election is not for 2014. So I'm flattered by that, but at this point, my focus and attention is on not only winning my own race, but also making sure our majority here in Illinois in the congressional delegation comes back.
Well, I would remind our listeners, though, that at the age of 23, you were the youngest school board president in history and the youngest Illinois state representative. You were the youngest member of Congress and the first one born in the 80s.
That's kind of scary, isn't it?
Yeah, so governor is nothing. We just need to keep on adding.
Thank you for the resume, Roma. That's really good. Aaron Schock needs you to keep repeating that. But I want to ask you about a story that's in the paper today. Family wealth shrinks to 1992 level. That's according to the federal government. These are the official numbers. That's depressing for most Americans.
Average household wealth was cut by 40%. And and that's really the problem with the president's policies is more than just the fact that we've had record unemployment above 8% for the longest period in our country's history. It's that the amount of disposable income has shrunk because you have food prices. It just came out in the last 4 years have gone up in the average of 15 to 17% a year. food prices. You have energy prices from the time the president came into office 3.5 years ago have doubled. That's all discretionary income coming out of your household pocket. So not only people not employed, not only people their income's not risen, but then the amount of money they've got is getting blown on their food costs, their energy costs. Obviously, transportation costs have gone up as a result. And so that's really and then, of course, the markets. The markets haven't rebounded. Why? Because people are wondering what's going to happen with tax code, what's going to happen with the regulatory policy.
They're afraid to do anything.
What is the tax code? What's going to happen with the extending of the Bush tax cuts? Bill Clinton even came out and said, well, I really think we ought to be extending those for a year. And then he walked that back and said, oh, I'm sorry.
Before they slapped him around.
But,
well, here's the thing. So 2 years ago, after the, quote, shellacking that the president got, right, in his own words,
yes,
he came out and said, you know what? I've listened to the American people, and now is not the time to raise taxes on any American. And so he extended what were the Bush rates of 0103. I call them now the Bush-Obama rates because he extended them.
Yes.
So now we're a year and a half later, and the president with a straight face is going to say, oh, it's time to let them expire. It's time to raise taxes. Wait a minute. If it wasn't smart to raise taxes a year and a half ago on any American because the economy wasn't doing well, I don't think there's anybody saying the economy's... And that's why Bill Clinton says, hey, extend them for another year. That's why Larry Summers, his former economic advisor, says, hey, extend them for another year. That's why a bipartisan vote in the Ways and Means Committee to move forward on extending them took place. I believe at the end of July when Speaker Boehner has announced that we're going to vote on an extension of the current tax rates. I think that vote will be bipartisan. How do you as a congressman or as a U.S. senator, when you voted on an extension a year and a half ago when the economy was hurting, how do you not vote on another extension now when everyone from Bill Clinton and Larry Summers to every economist is saying extend them? That would be a terrible thing for you to jack up taxes on a down economy.
Taxmageddon is what they're calling January 1.
Yeah.
I mean, that is exactly what will happen if they do not do something.
Right.
Plus the Obamacare issue, and that's a whole different kettle of fish.
Well, are you concerned at all about the leaks? The investigation is going into these leaks, possibly jeopardizing national security, or is it mainly taxes that you're concerned with?
Oh, no, absolutely. Listen, our national security is paramount to everything else. I mean, 9/11 showed us that if we're not safe as a country, nothing else really matters. And the fact that the president is willing to jeopardize our national security, our national secrets, and those who cooperate with us in fighting terror, whether it be the gentleman who helped us turn in Osama bin Laden, not only should he be out of jail, he ought to get his $20 million we promised him.
Oh, yeah, that's right. I forgot about the money. Right.
Absolutely. We need to make an example out of him. Not only that we're willing to fight to get him out of Pakistan, but he ought to be a hero. I mean, this guy helped us get. I mean, so this is so backwards, their strategy. But yeah, I'm absolutely concerned about the leaks. I firmly believe that Mike Rogers, who's the chairman of the Intelligence Committee, Darrell Issa, who's the chairman of the Government Oversight and Investigations Committee, will go after them. But you know, their MO is do whatever it takes right now because we're 5 months and counting till Election Day, and by the time they figure out what we've done, it's going to be post-election. So I believe when it comes to November, we're all going to be sitting around saying this was the dirtiest election we've ever seen.
Wow. Well, thanks for that encouraging note. Aaron,
what do you expect from a Chicago politician? Come on, you got a Chicago politician in the White House.
All right. The 18th District of Illinois, well represented by Congressman Aaron Schock, and you're always welcome here, and we appreciate your time
Great to be with
morning.
you guys.
I want to ask him one more question, so he has to wait till we come back.
Oh, wait a minute. He's not going away?
Well, we're holding him hostage.
You're going to hold him hostage.
The studio door.
All right, hold on a second. It's 7:22 at WLS.
89 WLS. WLS is everywhere you are. Connect with the WLS AM app on your smartphone. Listen live online and catch up on Newsmaker podcasts at WLSAM.com.
Glad to get the shocking news from Congressman Aaron Schock, who's joined us for a few minutes more. And quickly, I think the question was about the teachers union, Roma?
It was, because they have had a 90% vote to strike. If Karen Lewis tells them to, they're asking for a 30% raise over a 2-year period.
Wow. Are they hiring?
You want a job?
30% raise?
Yes. Who gets a 30% raise?
Well, I want to know, a 30% raise, are they going to get that from the wealthy state of Illinois or the wealthy city of Chicago? I'm trying to figure out who's got all the cash that they're going after.
I have no idea, because everybody's broke. All governments are broke in this state.
Speaking of politics, just very quickly, we only have a minute. Are you optimistic about Mitt Romney?
Yes, absolutely. Look, a few historical facts. In May of 1980, during the presidential campaign, Ronald Reagan was 12 points behind Jimmy Carter, and he came within, and in 5 months he came back and beat him. So if Ronald Reagan was 12 points down at this point and beat Jimmy Carter, the fact that Mitt Romney is neck and neck right now with Barack Obama is excellent. It means the momentum is on Mitt Romney's side. And the fact of the matter is, the undecided voters, they all know who President Obama is. They don't all know who Mitt Romney is. And historically, 2/3 of undecideds tend to break for the challenger. And so, you and I follow politics. We all follow politics right now. Every day we pick up the newspaper. Fact is, most Americans that vote in a presidential race, those independent voters, they pay attention after Labor Day. So they're going to wake up after Labor Day, after the kids are back in school, after the summer vacations are over, and say, wow, gas prices are still high, unemployment's still high, the economy's still not doing better, and this guy wants another 4 years? I don't think so.
Yeah.
Right.
All right, so you are
optimistic. It's going to be, how am I doing? I'm not doing so well.
I never thought I'd agree with James Carville. It's the economy, stupid. Or Bill Clinton, don't raise taxes.
Right.
Maybe I'm becoming more of a Democrat. I don't know.
I don't think so. Aaron Schock, thank you again. I'll thank you because I thought you were leaving
You
before.
tried to throw him out once, and he strong-armed you.
Yeah, but now we're going to do the news. Thanks. You're welcome anytime.
Thanks, guys. Great to be with you.
Love to have shocking news from Congressman Aaron Schock. All right.